So we opened up the food court in 2007, and it's probably a little bit before your time here on campus, but when we opened, we were managing the La Fiamma space, and we were also managing the El Sol, which is now Habanero space downstairs. Next, please. In addition, we were operating the Honor Roll location, which is now Sushi by Panda, and we also operate the grill. What's interesting about all four of those locations, when we first opened up the hub in 2007, we were losing quite a bit of money downstairs. Next. So this graph shows you how much we were losing when I first came on campus in 2010, and it started just slightly before that, ever since we opened. So in 2010, when we were operating the locations downstairs in the hub and the grill, we lost $1.7 million in operating those platforms. In 2013 and 14, we were chipping away. We were modifying our hours of operations. We were focusing on raising prices. We were raising prices around our retail facilities and even our meal plans to help offset this loss. And this year, we're projected to hit about a negative $860,000 the way we're currently projecting to close out this year. Next year, if we do nothing else, and if we see some anticipated increases in a few areas, we'd probably still come in at just under $1 million loss downstairs. So as we felt that over the years, we've probably gotten our prices to the point where we've hit what we think is a ceiling in many locations. What we'll soon experience is a line rejection based on price, because we just can't seem to raise the prices anymore to help offset our losses. So we put together a presentation and a strategy to the senior leadership of the campus several months back. And our strategy is this. We currently operate those platforms I was just referencing. One of the platforms, actually two of the platforms today, we don't currently operate. We have Panda downstairs, as you know, and we have Sushi by Panda. So those are what we refer to as a third-party tenant. So our recommendation is that we're going to convert out the rest of the platforms that we operate downstairs into additional third-party tenants. And if we do that, we're projecting, if you can see in the bar chart on the far right-hand side, that we can take it from a projected loss of just under $1 million to a projected profit of about $200,000. That's about a $1.1 million swing. Next. So how we got to this point, back in 2010, we put together a 10-year strategy, a master plan, if you will, for dining. And so we've been marching forward for several years on trying to accomplish our master plan. In 2015, as the campus was launching the new campus sort of master plan, we had the opportunity to bring our consultant back in to evaluate where we've been in our journey on our 10-year plan, and how do we need to realign the remaining years to make sure that we're in alignment with the campus master plan. So we brought them in, and specifically when we brought them in, we asked them to help us analyze the performance of the hub downstairs to figure out what do we do to get out from under that loss, so that we don't have to try to carry those subsidies and put that on the backs of our customers and clients in other locations. Next. So our strategy was, as I mentioned, was to look at our platforms that we operate downstairs and to convert those into other national brand platforms. And so our focus has been primarily on trying to find the right partners that can bring in a premium brand with a value proposition, meaning that they're affordable and it's good quality. And also, as a part of that strategy is to eliminate the losses that we experience downstairs. And then at all times, dining will continue to oversee those contracts as we do with Panda today, to ensure that they're providing the customer service and the food quality that is expected through the lease. Next. So we are currently working with a couple brands that we expect to bring in. The first one for Latitude 55 would be the Habit Grill. And so we looked at quite a few concepts out there for a burger alternative to what we operate as what you know as the grill. But as we looked at the premium brand and the value proposition, interestingly, we found that as you look at the Have a Grill, if you look at their primary line of business, which is hamburgers, that as we compared those to the other brands in this space, they were very affordable and cheaper, more affordable, if you will, than some of the other national brands. So as you look at Carl's, for example, if you look at their hamburger compared to the Habit hamburger, Carl's and McDonald's, even though they're more expensive than Habit, they get that price point because they, as silly as it sounds, they apply cheese on their hamburger when they sell it. Now, if you go into to Carl's or McDonald's and you tell them if you want the quarter pounder without cheese, they're happy to provide you with that order, but they don't take any money off of the quarter pounder. Or at Carl's, they don't take the money off for the cheese. They charge you the same price. The Habit Grill, their char burger, if you will, is their primary burger, is only $3.35. It doesn't come with cheese, but not everyone wants cheese. You can pay for cheese, it's I think 60 cents, but it still gets to under $4. So from that perspective, we found that we had a premium brand with a very affordable solution, and it would be a really nice fit for the campus. And you can see even as you look at their double burgers, as you look at their fries and their beverages, they're very competitive. And even when you look at where we are today, with our single burger at $4.29 and our double at $5.99, we've had to get those prices to try to help offset the losses. So we feel that that's going to meet our needs and our commitment to find that premium brand and a value proposition. Next. So in the La Fiamma space downstairs, as you're familiar with the menu, most likely familiar with the menu, that we have pizza, pastas, and salads. We found that when you look at a brand that is very similar to that concept, the first name that came to mind was Sbarro's. But we didn't really feel that Sbarro's was that premium brand at a value proposition. And they're in most food courts and most malls across the country, but in our eyes, they're sort of a tired brand, and they haven't really demonstrated a lot of innovation. Pieology and Blaze, and there's others, there's Oven 450, there's quite a few of these brands that are surfacing in this sort of pizza market. And so Pieology is in the local Riverside County, Blaze is here in Riverside, and we reached out to both Pieology and Blaze. Blaze said that they would think about it and call us back if they were interested in the opportunity, and we've not heard from them since. And Pieology was extremely excited about coming into this opportunity. They're currently in what we refer to as brick and mortar locations, freestanding restaurants or in strip malls, but they're trying to get into this non-traditional market so that they can have an opportunity to expand and potentially go after Sbarro as they sort of start here with UCR. So we'd be their first university expansion. And if you look at their price points, typically if you're familiar with Pieology, as Blaze, they're a create your own, but they will also develop a slice program that would be competitive to what we do downstairs at La Fiamma. Their individual price is very competitive to our 16-inch. And if you look at their pasta and salads, they're right in line. So we found another premium brand and a good value proposition. Next. At Sushi by Panda, we put them into the food court about 3 years ago at this point. And when they first came in, we only signed a very short lease because they wanted to experiment in that market of having a sushi concept. About a year and a half ago, they took that platform that they started here and they developed a new brand called Hibachi-san. And right now they're putting it in quite a few college campuses, particularly in Southern California. So Cal Poly Pomona, Cal State Long Beach, and others with Hibachi-san. And they have proposed that they'd like to do an upgrade of the Sushi by Panda with a Hibachi-san concept. And let me tell you what's in that menu mix next. So their primary service is a poke bowl. So they have a create your own 2-protein poke bowl, and they have a create your own 3-protein poke bowl. You can create the poke bowls as you go through the line. If you think of it sort of like the Chipotle of poke bowls or the Subway, that's a create your own. It's a very high quality product, and again a premium brand, and we think it's at a good value. Next. In this space, they would also have a tea bar that'll feature boba and other drinks. So we have heard a lot of positive comments about that. Next. And as we did our price comparisons, looking at hibachi-san prices compared to like Poke Bar and Pokelicious, which are sort of in the area, that they come in at a very reasonable price point as well. So for the 3 locations that I've talked about, we feel we've met our expectations of trying to find that premium brand at a value proposition. Next. The one space we're currently working on today is trying to come up with our next partner for our habanero space. And these are the brands that we're talking to. I say talking to, I'm talking to them, and it's really hard to find them to get them to return our call. So we haven't gotten very far, but we've been aggressive and proactive to try to find a good partner for downstairs. Chronic Tacos actually came out to tour the space last week. They're sort of a new brand. They're starting to roll nationwide. They're in Southern California. So very much like a Chipotle or a Baja Fresh, a good premium brand. So we're starting to have some conversation with those. We still have got to try to get connected with Chipotle to see what opportunities they may find here on this campus. You know, interestingly, we were initially worried about Chipotle because they sort of tarnished their brand about 1.5 years ago, if you recall, through the whole food safety. And so interestingly, as I've been going around doing these presentations, I've been trying to watch the faces of everybody in the room when I mention Chipotle to try to figure out how many head nods I get of a positive and how many head nods I get as a negative. And I'm getting more positives and a double positive in this one. So who knows where that'll end up, but my point is we haven't solidified our partnership with that space, but we hope to do that in the near future. Next. So our timelines for these conversions, as you can see from the screen, are primarily all this summer. That we intend to open up the food court in September with these new brands in place. Now the only potential hesitation we may have is in the habanero space, as I was referencing on trying to find the right partner for that space. And if we can't make that happen this summer, then we'll make that happen over winter break. But we're committed to make that transition. Next. I think if nothing else resonates with my message today, I hope you understand that we do not intend to lay off anybody that we employ downstairs. So dining services ourselves, we employ approximately 170 full-time employees, and on any given quarter, we employ about 900 students. So we have quite a few employees downstairs and student employees, but through this transition, any of our full-time employees will be moved over into our residential community or other locations. So nobody's going to be out of a job, there's no layoffs. And for any of our students, every year we have a number of students that graduate, and we backfill every year. It's a cycle. So we continue to hire 300 to 400 students at the beginning of every school year. As people move on, they decide not to work for us. And so any students that we have downstairs that would like to remain with dining services going into the fall, we're going to give them first right of refusal for any openings we have at our other venues. And we'll also help put them in connection with the brands that are coming in downstairs, because we've put it into their leases that they have to hire UCR students for any of their part-time staff needs. So we feel optimistic and absolutely confident that there won't be any impact for employees downstairs. Next. So we're doing the presentations to let everybody know what we're doing, so there's no surprises coming into the summer and fall. We really definitely want to get in front of everybody to make sure that we can control the message, and we're trying to do as many presentations as we can, because it doesn't take long, as you know, for the rumor to begin, and next thing you know, the hub's shutting down and UCR's out of business. That's definitely not the message, and so we're trying to get ahead of it by doing these presentations so you can hear firsthand from us what we're doing downstairs. We're negotiating leases. We're putting together the construction schedule. We'll get into student and staff hiring over the summer, as we normally do. And of course, we'll start to do soft openings with the brands that come in downstairs to try to give them about a 30-day, what we call burn-in time, where they can get their processes and procedures and get all the sort of the kinks out of it and move into a new space. So that typically means a lot of samplings at no charge throughout the summer. And so we'll certainly clue in everybody when that occurs, because we'll certainly need as many taste buds as we can collect. next. And that's what I have on the Hub Retail Initiative. Are there any questions I might answer?
Okay, I'm going to open up the speakers list, and we're going to go from this way. So we're beginning with Senators and then President Trump, Senator Ira, Senator Moore, and then President Trump. But before we start, I just want to thank you for coming out today. Definitely, we've been hearing a lot of rumors around campus that there needs to be some changes. I personally love what we have in the Hub, and I can say that my friends and I use it quite a bit, so we're very grateful for that. But with these new changes, I know that the student body is just as excited as we all are in our student members. So thank you for all that you've done. And we're really excited, so.
Thank you.
Okay, Senator Ara?
Hi, David. So thank you so much for presenting. I just had a few questions. I know you said no employees will be laid off, but you also mentioned that the habit would kind of be like a equal to the grill. So I'm wondering if maybe students won't be laid off, will their hours be reduced? Because arguably, like, I would probably prefer going to the habit rather than going to the grill. And if you guys have less people coming in purchasing, you probably need less staff, or less staff working at the same time. So are hours going to be reduced at all for students?
So let me see if I can answer that question. As an example of bringing the brands compared to the brands we operate, we used to operate a place called Stacked Deli. It was down outside of the Hub, just across the way. And we felt that that was very much like a Subway. We baked our own breads. We have premium meats. We actually felt that we delivered a far better sandwich than Subway. And it did just about $400,000 a year in sales. We opened up Subway overnight, popped the sign out on the side of the wall, and it pushes close to $1 million in sales. So conversely, as we think about habit, to your point, we operate the grill today, and it does X amount of revenue. We think habit coming in could easily double that amount of revenue. And so for us, and in conversation with them, they'd like to expand the hours, they'd like to consider weekends, and they'd like to consider just more hours in general. So our anticipation is that they're going to need more staffing than we employ today in the grill. And so I think that's actually a win-win.
Actually an increase maybe in hours.
It would be an increase in staffing and an increase in hours. We think it's going to be a far busier location than we can make it on our own.
Okay. Thank you for that. Also, I was also wondering, well, you answered kind of my question with the hours. I know sometimes, or most of the locations on campus close pretty early, and that leaves students with very few food options. So they end up mostly buying like snacks and stuff from the convenience stores. So do you know maybe approximately like how far you're deciding to expand the times, maybe to like 10, 12? Is that something?
You know, I can't commit to 10 or 12. What I can commit to is right now, our platforms, we close between 3 and 3:30 in the afternoon, and we push everybody to Panda.
Right.
That's really been part of our strategy to try to figure out how to keep from losing money. And as much as, you know, a restaurant operator never wants to try to figure out how to save money by closing hours, but for us, that actually sort of helped. The more I closed, the less money I lost. And so bringing in these brands, Panda we keep open until 6, and Panda's very aggressive. They'd like to open longer, more often. They'll open anytime I'd let them open. Bringing in the other brands, I see that the entire Hub would at least be open until 6, if not later. And we're going to let them help drive the hours, because they're going to be at risk paying sort of rent to us. So they'll benefit by it being open more than less. And could they open on the weekends? I'm not going to stop them from opening on weekends. My bet is, if I had a crystal ball, that putting those name brands into an area like the Hub will bring more activity and more excitement on the weekends than we have right now. And so it's probably a catch-22 the way we do it today. I've only got Panda, I've got Subway and CBTL. There's a certain amount of excitement. But if I can double the number of brands coming in and it becomes more activated and more energized, I think everybody wins. I think the students, the faculty, and staff will benefit. I think they'll be very competitive with one another, because they know where their money's coming from, and so they're gonna try to promote different specials, and they're gonna try to do all that they can to try to make more money than the guy standing next to them, which is either Panda or Biology, however that unfolds. So we think it's a win-win all the way around.
Yeah, and then last question,
And I don't know about the 10 to 12. We'll see where that,
yeah,
that
no,
goes.
I would be open to it being open later because I know as a first year I didn't have a car, so, you know, it's kind of tough finding like food options at nighttime, you know, past like 9 p.m. So, the last question, I know you showed us some of the numbers for Habit and comparatively like the burger is like it's a competitive price. But I'm wondering with regards to like Biology and Hibachi-san, like their prices, you know, like anywhere from $7 to $9 per meal is kind of, it's not like super affordable for an average college student, especially for a campus that faces food security in the numbers that we do. So I'm wondering, and sort of low income as well, so I'm wondering if maybe for the last location you'll consider like a cheaper option that more students would have access to, or maybe provide kind of, I know like healthier options in your in the stores downstairs tend to be priced pretty high. You know, it's like $4 or $5 a sandwich or so. So I'm wondering if like for the last option you might provide something like a healthy option that's affordable as well, or maybe provide further options at your convenience stores where students can kind of pick and choose if they're unable to afford these.
So if it's Chipotle or Chronic Tacos, I don't know if you guys perceive that to be more affordable or affordable in your mind. That's where we were headed with our brand selection, to bring somebody like that in based on the popularity.
Right.
So I'm curious to get your feedback on whether you feel that that's affordable towards your question or
Well,
point.
for me personally, like I can't speak for everyone else here, but I know like if I have to choose between, you know, ordering a few things off the dollar menu at Taco Bell or getting like a $9 poke bowl, I'll probably go get the Taco Bell first before, unless I recently got paid or something and I can myself out. But yeah, I feel like some students may be able to afford it, but the larger majority, if like they're facing kind of, they'll make the purchase because they kind of have to. They're hungry on campus, and a lot of our campus commutes too. So I think it's great that you're bringing these in, but if we can have also maybe one healthy and very affordable option, or maybe just like I said, provide some options at like lower maybe some of the prices at the convenience stores, because I know like the healthy options there tend to be kind of priced pretty high. So
To that point, we are getting ready to put out an RFP on our grab-and-go sandwiches and salads to try to see if we can get those price points down.
right.
That probably won't be decided for at least another 60 to 90 days, but that is our hope to get that down.
Right. Well, I mean, that's perfect. I mean, that's just right in time with the opening next year, I guess.
Sure.
Nothing decided, so.
We are conscientious of the food security issues, and to some degree, that's part of our inspiration behind bringing some of these brands in, that they can do things cheaper than we can do. And, you know, those losses, we chipped away by raising the prices in the convenience stores and raising prices in meal plans. So it was sort of a double negative. You know, we were losing money, but we were trying to raise prices, which doesn't combat food, you know, insecurity issues. So it's our commitment to the campus that as we get out from under this debt, we don't have to be as aggressive on our price increases, that we can try to hold the line and make things more affordable. It allows us to sort of focus those dollars somewhere else versus trying to figure out how to, you know, subsidize the hub.
Definitely. Thank you so much. Yeah, those are my questions.
You bet.
I don't know if y'all ever thought of maybe putting dining dollars for also upperclassmen, because I know that there's a lot of people that would like to utilize dining dollars.
Dining dollars where?
Dining dollars for like a hub downstairs,
That
or
would be-
not just the first years, but for all students who would like to pay that fee into it.
So dining dollars will be accepted downstairs by the brands.
Senator Moore?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
So, one question, or two questions actually. Will dining options be open during the summer, considering like there is going to be some construction, but for students that are going to be here like during summer school, will the hub be open?
So we are trying to structure the construction so that it's not back to back and we take out the entire hub all at one time. So we're trying to create it so that we'll take one platform down at a time and then get that one done and then go to the next one. Most of the effort downstairs is light in nature. It's taking down an existing sign, putting up a new sign. It's maybe trading some of the color of the tiles and the paint. So sort of superficial stuff, we think we can make that happen fairly seamlessly. We also have to focus on feeding the incoming freshmen and parents for Highlanders, so we're anticipating that because that's a large venue that we have to have. So we will certainly keep that open throughout the summer, but something might turn off while something else turns on. But we'll have services downstairs, and of course Subway and likely coffee and tea leaf.
Okay, thank you. And then one more question. So I know like Latitude, it's very unique with its variety of food. And like I personally like to go there a lot because of like the breakfast burritos and like the breakfast grilled cheese, like so good. But and just like all kinds of unique food that it offers. But with that said, like Habit doesn't have that kind of variety with like breakfast. And like I'd say Latitude is like the go-to for breakfast food, like in the morning. So is that going to be like compensated somewhere else? Like
They do have a breakfast menu that they'll be operating here. I don't have it memorized, but that was one of the assurances they had to provide us when we walked that space with them, which is that's a breakfast menu for us. They said they do have a breakfast menu, and they'll be incorporating that breakfast menu here.
Are you guys going to like bring some of the varieties from like Latitude to like the barn possibly?
So the barn's an interesting topic. I can do that presentation today if we still have time. But yes and maybe no.
Okay.
So if we have time, I think we can do another presentation, I think, on the barn, which I believe is on your laptop.
I just love the breakfast burrito.
I have a general question. Are there any student representatives that sit on committees that you all have in the deciding factor?
Say that again?
Were there any student representatives that were sitting on, I guess, the deciding factor of this initiative? Trying to find the grants, et cetera?
I can't say they were,
Okay,
but we've been going out and trying to do these presentations
Got it,
to
got
make
it.
sure that everybody feels like we're headed down the right path.
perfect.
So we haven't signed the leases,
Okay,
and we haven't had, quite frankly, any sort of thumbs down.
okay,
It seems like we've all been getting the
yeah.
sort of approval, if you will,
Yeah.
moving forward.
Did you have a question, Senator Nkosi?
Yeah.
I think it was on the other weddings.
Might have been, try that. Sorry. That's not a bad presentation, but it might take time. I can go through this one if you would like. I think I can go.
Okay, that's perfectly fine. Yeah, that's fine. We had a few more questions in regard to the hub initiative.
Sure.
Perfect, thank you. We'll go to Senator Nkosi.
So my question was, is there something that can be placed that we have, like, I live in Glenmore now, and so in my tuition I do pay, like, whatever amount of fees, I have like $90 in the meal plan.
Mhm.
So I think,
Yeah,
when
that's
you
what
were
I was
asking,
asking.
was that for upperclassmen, like I'm going to live off campus next year, in like non-housing here at UCR? So is there a possibility that upperclassmen can also pay whatever amount of fee in like tuition so that they can get dining plans? Kind of like how athletes, like I know people who are on the track team, they get X amount of dining dollars through like their scholarship. So is there a possibility that upperclassmen can also do that so that they can start using dining dollars just like somebody who is a first year or living on campus?
So we don't offer meal plans for students when they leave housing. What we do offer through dining dollars is a sort of a discount, if you will, through dining dollars. So if you buy $50 in dining dollars, you get a 5% bonus, if you will. So if you spend 50, you get 55. And on dining dollars, it's a 10% bonus. So if you spend $100 in dining dollars, you get $110 in dining dollars back. So a reasonable discount or bonus, but we don't offer meal plans outside of those that live with us.
Okay.
Is it possible for that specific dining dollar plan for upperclassmen as well?
Absolutely, so it's available to anybody.
You just upload it, but you only get $10. Like if you're paying $100, you're only gonna get $10 extra dollars.
That's $10.
Yeah, that's like
You have to pay $100.
That's one thing.
Yeah, we get to put $100 onto your account. If you don't use it, then you just like always have this money like on hand. That's also true. Like you're not paying, unless you pay $100 at the food court right away, then it's like really kind of like.
Yeah, it depends on how much.
Yeah, that is-
Do you have anything else?
So the answer is no, that we won't, so there's nothing that we can do to replace that. I understand we don't have that now, so in the future, that's something that we can do.
You know, I don't want to predict the future. With the growth of the campus and an ever-changing landscape, something could change. We've thought about trying to put together smaller meal plans and offering it outside of those that live with us. We haven't done so in the past just based on where residential is and where most of the students who don't live there, it feels like it's sort of away from the core of the campus. So we haven't put something together like that.
Okay, and then how is it possible though for athletes? Because I do know that they don't put anything on their account. Like they come here and there's basketball players, like other athletes on campus, and then they either have on their art cards, like dining dollars that to pay through the school.
Well, I don't think they're getting dining dollars. I could be wrong, but there's two different programs on campus. There's what's called Bear Bucks, and then there's dining dollars. Dining dollars are only issued to those that live with us.
Yeah, Bear Bucks, yeah.
And it could be Bear Bucks, and we as in dining don't issue those. Those go through the card office, and
Yeah, that makes sense.
that could be something different.
Okay,
And Bear Bucks are something that anybody could buy as well. They don't offer discounts like we do
Yeah.
on the dining dollars.
yeah. Okay, that was my question. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to finish with the senators first before we move into executive branch. So President Pro Tempore Lee.
Since the lease aren't signed yet, I'm just wondering will the percentage food price change based on the lease?
So that was a sensitive price point for us. The way the lease is structured is that they can't charge any more on campus than they do in their off-campus locations. And so that was important for us to structure that. That's currently the structure in the Panda lease today. You can't ask for any more than what you currently charge out of here. In addition to that, we've also told them in the new leases moving forward, they can't ask for more than a 3% increase year over year. And they would have to demonstrate if their street pricing goes up and they try to get more than 3%, then they have to come back and try to sort of articulate why that they feel they need a 3% increase. There have been times in rising markets with droughts and other things that could cause sort of oddities and price sensitivities, but in general, that's the way we structured the lease.
Thank you. We'll move on to Senator Flores.
Hi, thank you again for coming. I had a couple of questions. So when you were mentioning the priority that students that are already working in dining will have, you mentioned that you would connect these workers or you would connect these third-party restaurants to the UCR students. Can you elaborate a little bit more about that? Because if it's still within the same system, would like all the workers be transferred, or do they have to get filtered through again?
So the third-party operators coming in would not be something that we operate in dining. So the employees downstairs would not be university employees, they would be employees of the Pyology or the Habit. What we have committed to the students that work downstairs is as we have more openings in residential than we have employees downstairs, they would have first right of refusal to those positions that we have open in other venues that we do operate. So if they do want to remain a dining employee, we can give them the opportunity to move into other venues that we manage. If they choose not to continue to work with us because they'd rather work for Habit, then we would connect them with Habit when Habit comes in. Did that answer your question?
It did. Just to follow up with that though, so if they said, hypothetically, if they didn't want to connect to the restaurants here because, competition, things like that, or they weren't able to, that would increase the competition within the restaurants that UCR does, like operate basically, right? Because that's already, like, has a full lot of people working there, so.
Mhm.
So there would probably be, like some loss of job.
I think most of the people that work downstairs have expressed that they'd like to stay with dining services and look at the other venues we move into. I'll have more openings in our venues that we operate today than the number of students I employ downstairs. So I would first try to move any of those employees downstairs into our other venues, and then what other positions I still need to fill, then we will go out and hire new students. And then additionally, the brands that are downstairs are going to also be hiring students as well. So I don't think anybody that is working for us today would be out of a job. There would be at least the same amount of jobs available on campus, if not more, based on their increased hours and increased volume. So I really don't think anybody's going to be out of a job. We'll find a home for us.
Thank you. And then my second question is you mentioned that dining dollars would be incorporated into the hub, but would it be possible for freshmen to have meal sites applied in this new hub as well?
No, that's not an option.
Not often.
Not an option.
Can you explain like the structure or why?
There's a financial aspect for the value of swipes versus dining dollars. And so it's not sort of it's not quite an apples to apples comparison, because when they have their swipes over in residential, we can serve thousands of meals with less bodies, and there's a price point that's calculated into how you drive the price of your meal plan. The second thing is we've always not allowed meal swipes into the hub because we would inundate the volume and the lines would be incredibly long. And so there's a kind of a value proposition to that we don't want to overwhelm the hub, because at some point it'll then turn into customer complaints and long lines, and then that doesn't work. So we've committed to infusing dining dollars downstairs to the students and to the brands coming in to make sure that they can sort of get their forced economy, if you will, but it won't be meal swipes.
Okay. And there'd be no, that's understandable, after you explain it, but would we be at all, like, in the future, be able to use, like, at least one restaurant, like, in the hub or the central area on campus, because, like, the residential halls are a little bit farther off, so we would be able to incorporate those sites at all in any of our restaurants in the future?
I don't want to promise too far into the future. Yes,